Welcome. Call to order the regular meeting of the Pinehurst Village Council for October 14th, 2025. As is our custom, we'll begin with a invocation from a member of our own staff, Jason Whitaker, and that will be followed by a Pledge of Allegiance from Lachlan Evans.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us all here together this evening in Pinehurst, such a wonderful and great place to live and to work and to play. And we thank you for each council member and staff who dedicate so much time of their lives to serve the citizens of Pinehurst. We just pray that you'll guide us tonight, direct our conversations and decisions, and we are just thankful for all your many blessings, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you. Now, I ask you to please rise. Lachlan Evans, please come forward. Lachlan is a student at Father Capodanno High School and lives here in Pinehurst. Please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lachlan. We'll begin, as we usually do, with our reports, and we'll turn to the village manager. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure most of us noticed that on Sunday there was a Spectrum outage in the village of Pinehurst. So just a little bit of update on that. So there was the outage. The Sheriff's Department is currently looking into it. So I want to be clear that this is not a, a terrorist attack that was intended to disrupt the infrastructure. This was more of a theft of copper wire, and so the Moore County Sheriff's Department is currently looking for any tips. There is a reward of up to $25,000 for this, and people can call the Sheriff's Office tip line at 910-947-4444, or you can anonymously submit the tips through the Moore County Sheriff's Department app. So just wanted to put that out there and make sure people knew this is a little different than the power outage that we had about 3 years ago. Different scenario that this occurred under.
Thank you.
A few other things. So our Holly Arts and Crafts Festival is this Saturday. So that's October 18th. It's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in the downtown. And then Oktoberfest is the next week, October 25th. And it is the Kinderfest from 4 to 6 p.m. and then the Oktoberfest from 6 to 9 p.m. I think this will get discussed a little later in more detail at the meeting, but the Pinehurst Traffic Circle drop-in meeting is October 28th from 3 to 7 p.m. at the Fair Barn. And as most people know, we are working on our Pinehurst Development Ordinance update, and a draft 2 is going to be uploaded to our website tomorrow. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a few items to report on. I trust everyone had a happy Columbus Day yesterday. And for those of you who follow it, it was also the 100th anniversary of the birth of Margaret Thatcher. If there are any Anglophiles here in the audience, they might have an interest in that. I had the pleasure of attending the National Restaurant Association's Leadership Conference here held at the Pinehurst Resort just about a week or so ago, and I got to meet the original Mr. Marriott, or at least the son of the founders of the Marriott Corporation, and they intend to have a regular meeting here in Pinehurst from now on, so that was a fun event. I also received a note that I shared with my fellow council members. It was really addressed to all of us from the North Carolina League of Municipalities. Is an organization we work with that helps all the municipalities in the state with the issues that they confront, thanking us for what we do and reminding us that they're available to help us. So council staff, we should rely on them, take them up on their offer as we can. Also had an unexpected visit with the Labor Commissioner of the state of North Carolina, Mr. Luke Farley. Happened to be passing through Pinehurst, and we sat down for a while and just talked a little bit about labor issues, and there wasn't anything real specific on Pinehurst itself. but it was good to keep that contact in place in case there comes a need sometime to rely on them. Also had the very special pleasure of attending a retirement ceremony honoring Chief Warrant Officer 4, Garrett F. Illebrun. He is, and he and his wife live here with their son in Pinehurst, and he was at a retirement ceremony at a young age. He suffered some disabilities as a result of his service to our country overseas. And I want to particularly shout out to the Pinehurst Fire Department that provided some support and firing those hoses in the air with all that water. And it was a tremendous display of community unity. There must have been about 300 people there sitting in the tents and making this gentleman and his family feel very special and welcome here in our community. So again, thank you to the fire department and those others. The police were there also helping organize or make the event run smoothly. And that is, one last thing. Just yesterday, I got to attend the exhibit at the Life and Legend of Payne Stewart. There was a special exhibit at the World Golf Hall of Fame. It was well attended by many residents and visitors. If you have not yet visited the World Golf Hall of Fame, I encourage you to do so. It is a real special scene for here in our community. They've done a first-class job, and of course, Payne Stewart is a particular special favorite because he won the U.S. Open in 1999, the first year they had it here at Pinehurst. So, again, USGA is a resident of our community, and we should take them up on the wonderful offers to visit the Hall of Fame there. I find it very useful when we have visitors who want to know, where should I go? And I take them to the Hall of Fame, which they had no idea was here. So that concludes my report. I'll now ask Dr. Morgan if he has some things to add.
Thank you. Just a few things. Not much going on with the CPRC lately. Just a few emails that I've addressed with the village manager. Did attend the Boys and Girls Club Gala fundraiser event on September 30th. This event is a yearly event that raises money, obviously, for the Boys and Girls Club. And they empower local youth to dream bigger, achieve more, and become leaders of tomorrow. It's an excellent organization. I'm not sure if you all are following the Boys and Girls Club, but if you're not, I would recommend you look into it. It is a great organization and one I think we should support. Did have a guest speaker, Del Curry, who was a pretty famous basketball player for the Charlotte Hornets, and he joked that his fame now seems to be that he's the dad of Seth Curry. Versus his own career that he had, but he gave a great speech and certainly empowering our children, and lots of presentations from the children of the Boys and Girls Club. Also want to recognize Tony Price. He was the Community Foundation's Man of the Year, and he actually is on the board for the Boys and Girls Club, and he asked us to join, and so we certainly joined him and his wife for that. But Tony also is the CEO for the Moore County Free Clinic, which is, again, very close to us here in Pinehurst. So just bring recognition to him and all that he has done. Tony is a Pinehurst resident, and so we're real proud of him. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Taylor.
Nothing much to report. I would say that I attended last night the League of Women Voters questioning of the 3 candidates for Village Council, replacing Councilman Farrell and Councilman Morgan, who are not running this year. From recollection versus 2 years ago when I ran, the crowd seemed to be a little bit smaller. I attribute that to the fact that the mayor's chair is not up for election. And I raise this only to say that I hope that the people both here in the hall and those who might view this online, we often hear that citizens, they don't grade us highly on their ability to have input into the decisions the council makes. You have no greater opportunity than to make your voice heard than to vote on November 4th. Early voting starts up in Carthage on Thursday, I believe, 16th. So I would just encourage people to get out and vote, even though the mayor's chair is not up. it's as important an election as any other two-year election. I also have a question, because I know after reports, we will move to the consent agenda. As I was not here, am I allowed to vote on approving the minutes? I am? Okay, thank you. That's all for me.
Very good, thank you. Councilman Ficklin.
Thank you. In terms of the Beautification Committee, starting October 14th, which by the way is today, press releases and e-blasts will announce a Pinehurst Christmas, our annual decorating contest. The contest is open to residences and businesses throughout Pinehurst, including the ETJ. Entry forms are due by noon Wednesday, November 26th. Entry forms will be available at Village Hall and at the Welcome Center. And October 21st is Fall Planting Day in the village. Members of the Pinehurst Garden Club will install fall color in the village and Tufts Park planting beds. A photographer from the pilot will be taking pictures at that time. On October 30th, preparation for the holiday season begins by replacing bows and testing lights on 104 wreaths. These are double-sided wreaths that will be installed on November 18th on 52 light posts throughout the village core. So the holidays are coming soon. In addition to that, our focus group for the PDO update met on, it's focus group number 8, our meeting number 8, met on Monday, and I will let Councilmember Farrell fill you in on some details of that meeting, which was essentially tying up loose ends for the next draft. One last thing about voting. Early voting begins on Thursday, October 16th, and goes through November 1. Election day is Tuesday, November 4. Please get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Farrell.
Yeah, please get out and vote, because Jeff and I are both be leaving, so we want your vote to count, and the people that you want here to replace us to be voted in, not just by default, put it that way. So yeah, I've spent the last a considerable amount of time over the last several weeks on the PDO update process and reviewing the document and working with staff a little bit on that. And we did have the meeting on Monday, as Councilmember Ficklin indicated, and we're getting there. I think as the village manager mentioned, I think there's going to be a new draft out within the day or two, which will be online. And if you choose, you can take a look at that, or you may choose to actually focus on an area that is of particular interest to you, such as signs or landscaping or fences or something to that nature, because it's a fairly substantial document, and we've been doing quite a bit of work to try to get it formatted so that it's easy to read and easy to understand. So with the new version coming out, I guess in a day or so, that means Councilmember Ficklin and I will be reading about 404 pages to try to once again make sure that everything looks copacetic and is exactly the way we want it. So that's my report. Thank you.
I thank both of you, Mr. Farrell and Ms. Ficklin, for your work on this, as well as many others who are working on it. It is a very serious document. It will be the controlling document for how we operate into the future here in the village of Pinehurst. And once it's up there, it is an opportunity again for every citizen to go through it carefully, take their time, and provide feedback. We'll eventually have a hearing here on that document so that everybody can have a time at the podium and give us their opinions and thoughts. But in the meantime, you're also welcome to send input so that the document can continue to be perfected as best we can. All righty. That includes our comments. Let us go on to the next item on the agenda, which is our consent agenda. Motion
Mr. Mayor, sorry, can I interrupt for 1 second? Somebody lost a pair of keys. If you did, Shannon has them up front. So.
Okay, pair of keys.
If you want to go home tonight, I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to. You can stay here. So.
If you just go to Shannon, if you all of a sudden dawns on you, you're missing them. Okay, now we can go to a motion to approve the consent agenda. All items listed below on this agenda are considered routine or have been discussed at length in previous meetings and will be enacted by one motion. No separate discussion will be held unless requested by a member of the Village Council. We will be seeking approval tonight for the September 23rd regular meeting minutes, the September 23rd work session minutes, and the September 23rd closed session minutes. With that, I'll consider a motion.
I move to approve all the items listed and considered routine on the consent agenda.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion adopted. That ends the consent agenda. Now we'll go to item 5, which is public comments. I think some of you may have signed up, as is the custom. When you come in at the beginning of the meeting, we do have a signature, but in addition to anybody who has signed up, if someone would like to address the council after that first individual is finished, you are welcome to come forward and address the council. We'll begin with Mr. Bill Colmer. Okay, topic, Veterans Day.
My other hat. Good afternoon. My name is Bill Colmer. I live at 34 Pomeroy Drive here in Pinehurst. And my purpose here today is to represent the men and women of the Sandhills chapter of the Military Organization of America. And I am pleased and hopefully I'd like to invite you all to join us on November the 11th for our annual Veterans Day celebration. This event will occur at 11 o'clock on the 11th day of the 11th month, and it will be held at the Community Presbyterian Church, which is at 125 Everett Road here in Pinehurst. Our guest speaker for that event is Dr. Sandy Stewart, who's the president of Sandhills Community College. And you'll also enjoy music that is being provided by the 82nd Airborne Division Band's Brass Quintet and the Golf Capital Chorus. During the ceremony, there will also be a presentation of Quilt of Valor. I urge you to, everyone is invited. You don't even have to be a resident of Pinehurst. Anyone may come and join with us in celebration of our veterans. If you plan to come, I urge you to come a little bit early because we'll have a bagpiper out in front of a church playing music along with the other musical entries that I've already mentioned. So that's my invitation to you all. I hope to see many of you there.
Thank you, Mr. Colmer. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. I was not familiar with that particular event, so I appreciate that. All right. Is there anybody else who would like to make a statement during the public comments period? No. Seeing none, we will now move on to item 6 on our agenda, which is a public hearing regarding the CDBG application for Gaines Road reconstruction in Jackson Hamlet. Doug, do you have something you'd like to add to this?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I was approached by James Huey. He's here in the audience a few months ago. He was looking for some ability to get Gaines Road improved. He's with the Center of Southern Coalition for Social Justice. We traded emails back and forth, and we ultimately ended up on the best course. Oh, yeah, I'm just trying to introduce it a little bit. Okay, thank you. And then, the best course is to apply for a community development block grant, and we are in that process. It requires 2 public hearings. We held one last week at the Jackson Hamlet Community Center, and then we're holding one again tonight. Later on in the agenda, we have an agenda item to approve council to allow us to submit the application. Just real quickly, Gaines Road is in the Jackson Hamlet community, just south of the Village of Pinehurst corporate limits. This portion right here is already paved, but from this intersection down, it is unpaved, and so we're going to be applying for funds to reconstruct that. Also at the meeting, it was brought up that Hazelnut Lane right here also needs to be paved, and a portion of Armstrong up here, so we will be amending that in the application information in tonight's agenda packet. We said we'd be applying for $360,000. We'll actually need to increase that $110,000 for a total of $470,000 to address those two additional areas. And with that, Mayor, we can open it up to
Okay.
public comments.
Let me
I
see.
move to recess the regular meeting and enter to public hearing.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have now entered a public hearing, and I'll first ask for one moment if any council members have any questions of Doug on this topic at all, because I just have one on the map, so I'm clear of which way I'm looking. As I drive down Gaines, am I headed towards Aberdeen or Pinehurst?
Yeah, so this is Highway 5, so Gaines Road is right here. So you're headed west, and so you're headed towards the lake neighborhood
the
over
lake,
here.
Oh, okay, I got it. That's great. Now I know for sure.
And again, the portion is from this intersection at Dawkins to the end of the road, plus this portion of Hazelnut.
Okay, thank you. All righty. So please, if anyone would like to speak up regarding this CDBG application, please come forward. Yeah, identify yourself and speak into the microphone.
Good evening. My name's James Huey with Southern Coalition for Social Justice. Thank you, Doug, for introduction. So just to provide a little bit of additional context, as Doug mentioned, I was approached a few months ago from a resident of Jackson Hamlet about the Gaines Street Road, specifically the Gaines Street extension, which, as Doug mentioned, is not paved. And so the main issue here is that whenever there's a big flooding event or anything, essentially the North Carolina Department of Transportation is not willing to maintain the road. And they're not willing to maintain the road until it's brought up to their minimum standards. And so once it's brought up to the minimum standards through hopefully the application and receiving this grant, the idea is that the DOT would adopt it into their network and then regularly maintain it. Because as of right now, it's functionally impassable. I tried to drive my car through it and I could not get through. So just wanted to provide that additional context and also just thank Doug for his incredible work. It's been really amazing to see. So. Do you have any questions or anything, or if not, I can.
Have you worked on applications like this before?
I have not, no. Doug has very much been taking the lead on the application.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any
Great.
other questions?
No, I would just mention, and I apologize, I can't remember the specific circumstances, but I believe a resident from Jackson Hamlet approached me probably close to 2 years ago. I actually have driven all the way down and all the way down as far as you can go to the lake. My recollection is near or at the end of the paved section, there is a fire hydrant, but there is nothing beyond that. And their concern was what sort of fire coverage is there in the event one of the dwellings farther down. So I think that being able to pave this would not only improve, the fire department can get down there, but there's sort of an access to water issue and what have you. So I think that paving this would have a number of consequences beyond just keeping it passable when there's a heavy rainstorm.
Do we know, is the fire hydrant functional?
We could ask the fire chief who's here, but I assume it is. I will say that as of right now, that road could not support a fire engine down it.
I understand.
Barely a sedan fits through on the part that's passable.
It's pretty close to the end of our fire district, though, isn't it? I forget where it ends.
I think that was Carlton, I may have spoken with you about it, I don't recall. I think that was the issue, was that it was not actually in our fire support district. It was more a county issue beyond the actual testing of the hydrant itself.
That, as a takeaway, we'll look into it
Yeah.
and just double check the hydrant.
Yeah, let's just see if it's functional. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Huey.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All righty. Now we have another individual, Mr. Thomas Tyson. Please come forward. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of the residents of Jackson Hamlet, we want to extend our sincere thanks for applying for this block grant. It's a long-awaited requirement that's been occurring for some time now, and to get to this point it just seems to be wonderful. I'd like to thank Mr. Willison for coming out to the citizens and explaining the procedure for getting a block grant, and extend to the Village of Pinehurst our sincere thanks for applying for this grant. Just one word, the fire hydrant that you're speaking in terms of, they have come out several different times and pumped it. Now, I can't give you an accurate assessment of when the last time was, but the fire department has come out and pumped that fire hydrant a couple of times. But thanks again for applying for the block grant.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone who hadn't signed up that would like to come forward now and also address the council in the meeting? Please come forward. Take your time.
Good afternoon. My name is O'Neill DeWitt Russ, and I live at 158 Charity Lane in Jackson Hamlet, which is considered Aberdeen. However, since Pinehurst Incorporated in 1980, we've always believed that we were in the fire district according to the county. We were paying county taxes and state taxes, and we have had fire response from Pinehurst to our residents. So in reference to the question that was raised about the district, as far as I'm concerned in it, I'm just a little south of Gaines Street as far as the residents. And if there is a question about fire district, it must be the county, because we've always assumed that we were in the district. And at one time, by the way, incidentally, I was on the board for the fire district in Pinehurst. And of course, all of this comes as a result of ETJ, et cetera, and changes. But up until this moment, I thought we were in the fire district for Pinehurst. Thank you very much. I just wanted to comment on that. And we might need more research on it. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Mr. Rust. Okay.
And we may be. I just didn't know exactly where the fire district boundary is, because it's close to this area.
I had assumed that it was the entire district, but I'm trying to look it up on the map to
Find out.
confirm.
Okay. Glad it-
All of Jackson Hamlet, okay. Okay, so for those of you who could not hear that, it was confirmed that all of the Jackson Hamlet community is within the Pinehurst Fire District.
Okay,
Good.
excellent, excellent.
Now, that settles that. Okay, anybody else who'd like to come forward and speak? No? Okay. Then, council members, any particular comment or thought?
Look, was this road ever a state road?
So I'm going to plead the fifth. I do not know, and there has been discussion with the Jackson Hamlet community and the Department of Transportation about previously, apparently they did maintain it, but now they're not. I don't know the history.
Okay, it may be inconsequential at this time, right?
Come forward.
Carol would know.
Good afternoon. My name is Carol Henry, and I live at 140 Charity Lane, Pinehurst. And I have not been able to attend some of the other meetings, but that road was maintained. In fact, school buses went down the area. I've lived there for 85 years, and that road was maintained because they wouldn't let them take school buses any farther. And down to where that fire hydrant is it was maintained until it was extended. But that road was considered, and every year they would move it a little farther. Where they would cut off. And so now they have moved the sign all the way up to where that it is part of it. And the conditions have worsened. Since the 4th of July, we had the terrible rainstorm. And those conditions are impassable. You just can't get through there. And that is one reason for our urgency on getting someone to get this. You know, we've been asking for help in that area for a long time. But until the conditions had gotten so that you couldn't get we have people down in that area that are very sick, and the ambulances couldn't get down in there. They would stop up further in the road because a fire department, they couldn't go down there even though the fire hydrant is beyond where the sign is. So that maintained, since I was a little girl, that road has been maintained.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to follow up on that, so DOT has confirmed that if it is brought up to their standards, which is the intent of the application, that they will maintain it going forward.
Doug, how does this work then? I mean, we apply for the grant, let's say we get the approval for first of all, who gets the grant? Who manages the project? You know, all those details. Have we?
Yeah, so we will be the fiduciary responsible party. So we will receive the funds and we'll pay them out. We'll work with the Department of Transportation for hiring a contractor and managing the actual project. My hope is that we can actually just have DOT do the project, but I don't think they'll do that. I think we're going to have to coordinate hiring a contractor together with them.
And they'll provide the engineering design.
Yeah, that'll all be part of the application.
Okay. Anything else? All righty. Well, we can conclude the hearing if we want to.
I move to adjourn the public hearing and re-enter the regular meeting.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we can move on to item 7, which is resolutions, and 7A is directly on point with the discussion we just had. That's to consider Resolution 2552, an application for CDBG funding for Gaines Road reconstruction project. Anything more that you want to tell us, Doug, on this? I have one question. What do we think is a timeline? We submit this, we'll hear back by when, the end of the month, or?
So the application is due by the end of October, and they said they will notify recipients by the end of the calendar year.
Calendar year. So then, if we get the green light, then we go into motion
Yes,
right away? Okay.
Is this a state program or a federal program?
federal program. Hopefully by the end of October, they're accepting applications.
Just,
And then one more thing that I was going to add, when you make a motion, assuming that you do, to amend the resolution to the new amount, which is $470,000. 470,000? 470.
70, okay.
I move to approve the amended resolution of 2552 to the amount of $470,000, authorizing the submission of the application for CDBG funding of the Gaines Road reconstruction project and certifying compliance with applicable state and federal regulations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. It's adopted. Let's hope for the best, and we'll certainly keep the Jackson Hamlet community informed as it progresses. Okay. Thank you, Doug, particularly for your hard work on this. Okay. Let us go to Resolution B, which is the consideration of Resolution 2546, updating the appointed advisory board term limits policy. Doug, if you can go into a little background here so everybody knows where we are.
Yeah, at our last meeting, we discussed how the state statutes require that the Board of Adjustments be a 3-year term. And so we are adjusting the Board of Adjustments, and we figured if we're changing them, we should make them all consistent. So we are going to move all of our advisory boards to 3-year terms. And so this resolution will update that.
And how will that affect the current
Yes,
incumbents?
Current positions will maintain their current expiration date, so any new appointments will then be applied to the 3-year term.
Okay.
So there may be varying reappointments from 1 year to 2 years, possibly 3 years again, too.
Yeah, when there will be in the next 3 years, we're going to have some funky term limits, yeah.
Understand.
Okay, so it's just a matter of a few years before we're caught up. All right, any other questions for Doug? John?
Just, so if I were on one of these boards, and let's say my term were coming, if this is passed, and my term were expiring at the end of this month, I can't be renominated for a 3-year term, or someone new comes in to a vacant, they would come in for a 3-year term?
If you have not term limited out,
Right.
you can be reappointed, and we'll just make sure that you don't exceed 6 years total.
So the only people who would have less than a 3-year term would be people, maybe they'd served 4 years already, they can only serve another 2 years.
Yeah.
And then it will become a 3-year term.
Yeah.
Question? Other questions or comments? No? Okay. Sounds like a good idea to me.
Yep.
We have a motion here?
I move to approve Resolution 2546, updating the appointed advisory board term limits policy to comply with North Carolina general statutes and to establish consistent term limits across all appointed advisory boards.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion adopted. Our term limits are now consistent and comply with the law. All righty. Let us go to item C, which is to consider Resolution 25-48 accepting, or Resolution 25-49 rejecting the high bid for certain real property at public auction. It's, I think, on the street is Calhoun. Doug, go ahead and walk us through what we're up by here.
Yep, so council directed staff over the summer to look at surplus properties that the village owns that we may not have a need for. So we identified 5 or 6. We've been going through those, and we put up 2 for auction in September, one at 7 Calhoun Lane, and the other on Morganton Road, which is the next agenda item. So we got successful bids back, actually exceeded my expectations, and I would recommend the council accept the high bid and we move forward with the close of this sale.
Question, the earlier property where we got the bid for $94,000, that's been consummated, is that correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. Questions for Doug? This is something we can be proud of, is it's sort of a win-win for the community all around. And going forward, we may have some other sales here, but any comments? Dr. Morgan,
I'm
John?
just, I think we need to accept it.
Well, my only comment would be, the reason the village has these parcels is because about 20 years ago, the village actively solicited residents to contribute lots to the village. It was called Give a Lot, Get a Lot. That was the name of the program. And the idea was, and it was publicized, that not only, of course, would you get the tax deduction, because a lot of people still itemized deductions at that time, but you would be contributing to keeping more open space, keeping more trees, and maybe help with stormwater management. So that was the reasons that were given to for the program. Just thought I'd mention that's how we came to acquire a good number of these parcels.
Yeah, that is true, Jack. We did a lot of research on these specific properties. We didn't find anything that specifically tied these properties to that program, so that's why we felt comfortable. We didn't want to, promise someone that we would keep it open space and then sell it 20 years later.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I move to approve Resolution 2548, accepting the high bid of $70,400 for 7 Calhoun Lane, parcel ID number 00021657, Unit 9, Lot 147, PH1, and authorizing the village manager to execute the necessary documents to transfer the property.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. We have just sold a lot. Item D, similar situation, another resolution.
I think it's
consider here, and this is on Morganton Road. Doug, if you can go into this one in particular? Anything,
I would
where is
just
this
add
on Morganton Road?
The specific address is 1210 Morganton, and the high bid was $81,400.
I move to approve Resolution 2550, accepting the high bid of $81,400 for 1210 Morganton Road, parcel ID number 000240098, Unit 8A, Lot 613, PHI, or 1 rather, and authorizing the village manager to execute the necessary documents to transfer the property.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion adopted. We've just sold another piece of property. The only comment I'll make, because I think this is a very successful effort on behalf of the village. I think it's a win-win all around, as I said earlier. So far, we have auctioned off and successfully done so, and we've acquired $232,000 that we otherwise wouldn't have had in our coffers, which is good. It's an average of $77,000 per lot, and I'll ask just two sort of simple questions here, I think. And when will these lots go onto our tax rolls? In other words, how soon after all this consummation is done? Maybe Dana might know if she's here. Is this something we wait to the first of the year, or is it? I'm seeing a nodding of the head. Okay, so that answers that question. And the second thing is, and you may not know this now, but how many other lots in this sort of similar situation do we see trickling out over the next 3, 6, 9 months?
Yeah, so we had looked at, I believe it was 5 over the summer, so we've now sold 2, so looks like there's 3 remaining.
3 more remaining, and then and the ones that we are not going to do, is there a particular reason that holds us back, or what?
Yeah, so either they were specifically part of that donation process, or we have use for them. They're used for stormwater or some other municipal purpose.
Okay, well, that'd be good later on to figure out, just to know where they are and what they're about.
I thought, Doug, there was one we felt might not be buildable, water issues or what have you.
There was one. I can double check. So yes, it may only be 2 left, but either 2 or 3.
Okay. Again, congratulations. Well done, Doug, and it's a plus for the village. All righty. We've completed item 7 now. Those resolutions will go on to ordinances. Item 8. Doug, we have 2 items here. You want to lead us through this?
I'll actually let our Public Services Director,
I didn't
Mike
see you,
Gaffney,
Mike.
handle this ordinance.
No worries. Good evening. So this first one is related to the Cotswold subdivision. If you don't know where that is, the Cotswold subdivision is located off of Linden Road. It was originally developed, I think, in the late 1980s. It was private. It was outside of the village limits. The roads were private. They were constructed as private. And in 2014, it was voluntarily annexed into the village at a request from the Homeowners Association. So at that time, the village took over the maintenance of the streets and right-of-ways or rights-of-way that were in use at that point. In 2017, the village then took over a second portion of the roads, which is Buckingham Place. You can see that on the map there. And Victoria Way, which is a little bit west of there. And so we maintain all the roads in there with the exception of the last phase of the development, which is on the back side, and you can actually see it under construction there in the aerial photo. Those units have been completed back there, and the final lift of asphalt has been placed on the roadway. And the developer has asked if we would consider assuming maintenance responsibilities for those streets, which is Regency Court. That is the street that goes to the left that you can see to a cul-de-sac. There is Castle Bridge Court, which is not labeled on that map that you can see, but it's the little circle that goes around. and then Chipping Campton Way from Victoria Way up to the north. So there's about 600 feet of streets left that we do not own or maintain. The developer has made that request to us. They have met all of our requirements related to the street construction, and so that is what I'm here to ask for your consideration of. We own and maintain all of the other streets within the subdivision, so this would just finish that out.
Questions from council members?
These have all been designed with the same characteristics as the street, the other streets, curb and gutter. They're not curb and gutter.
They are not curb and gutter. It's a bit of a unique project because it was, this final phase actually was approved in 2007, I think, and it was approved as a private development. So there's this last section, yeah, it's in accordance with what was originally approved in 2007, and it is in accordance with the remainder of the subdivision with the roads that we've taken over.
Remediation we actually did to, as a part of accepting these, has all been completed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about there.
I do.
Okay.
A question about the property on the right, 000295544. Is that in the village of Pinehurst? Is that in our ETJ? What is that?
Yeah, I don't think, if you zoom
Yeah,
out.
it's ETJ.
It's ETJ, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's, the green would be our village limits, and so it is not in the
Okay.
village limits.
So that's in ETJ. It looks like it's a single home there. Is that correct, or is it?
It is.
Okay. Just curious. Thank you. Anything else, John?
I had just one question, more technical, on the phrasing of the ordinance itself. The motion says that we're moving to approve accepting the streets and rights of way. The ordinance says we have agreed to accept them. I wasn't sure whether, what if we vote to vote this down? Very good. I hope you read the 404-page.
I think John's counting on you to do that, Jack, but it's all right.
Since Dr. Morgan wouldn't know this, as you know, I already read the first 60 pages of the other one before I gave up, and I will read a good portion of the 404.
Looking forward to your comments.
So, I mean, to address that, so I think the motion is to approve the ordinance, and the ordinance itself is that we are, the village council is, what do we got?
So the ordinance is restating our acceptance, if you will.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, good catch.
That event, I would move to approve ordinance 25-13, accepting the streets and rights of way within the final phase of the Cotswold subdivision, consisting of Regency Court, Castle Bridge Court, and Chipping Campden Way between Victoria Way and Regency Court.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion adopted.
Thank you.
Mike, you could stay.
Mike, yes.
I mean, you don't have to, but we're talking about Avemore real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. Go right ahead.
So we got a request to have Avemore, street or road, sorry, I forget. I think it's street.
Drive, I think.
Drive.
Avamore Drive, yep.
Make it a no parking area on both sides of the road. So give me 2 seconds and I will pull that up. So that is this roadway near the hospital. So here's the main campus hospital. And Avemore is this road back here.
How many parking spaces are there now?
I mean, there are no dedicated parking spaces.
Oh,
People are just parking on the side of the road.
okay.
Yeah, I was approached by First Health about that. So the new cancer center was constructed. There is a parking deck associated with that and a parking lot behind the cancer center. And at the exit of that parking lot on the backside of the cancer center, people are parking in the roadway along Avamore, and it's really creating a safety concern because you cannot see as you're pulling out of that parking area very well.
And I would also say that all of the other buildings of various kinds, there are a couple of banks back there and medical offices, each of those buildings has its own parking space as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will also add,
I don't know whether this is overflow from the cancer center or hypothetically employees of the hospital.
so I believe it is, and right now, you'll recall that, a few months ago it was approved that they are tearing down, I think, this building and putting in
Yes.
parking here.
Right.
So that should alleviate the problem, but also, let's just stop it, because
Right.
it shouldn't be there anyway.
Sounds very reasonable. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move to approve ordinance 25-16, amending Chapter 72, Section 72.01 of the Pinehurst Municipal Code to prohibit parking along Avamore Drive.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion adopted. Go right ahead. We're on to item 9, regular business. Doug, this has to do with your authority, so please.
Yeah, the first item here, 9A, is to consider increasing the village manager's authority to approve change orders on the Juniper Creek Sidewalk project. So we're asking council to approve my ability to sign change orders up to $1,178 million. So 1.1 million,
Not
sorry.
$78 million.
What is it
Let
now?
me start that over again. $1,178,000.
What is it now?
$178,000.
So we're really only,
Sorry, $1,078,000.
It's currently $1,078,000.
boy, I'm glad neither of you are the CFO.
that's
What
my
is that?
Do we need Dana to?
Yeah,
be
where
involved in
is
that?
Dana?
Babe,
How's our gold reserve right now?
1 million.
Okay.
My current authority is $1,078,000.
For this
There you go.
project?
Yes, we're asking it to be $1,178,000.
So it's an increase of
$100,000.
100,000. Okay, that's
10% of the project. That is because there was, originally in the bid, there was seed and straw was the, instead of sod was what was originally bid out.
This is the sod thing, yeah.
Due to the, we had a lot of rain in the early part of the project, and it kept getting washed out. And then it looked so good, once we started putting sod in, that, we decided sod would be the
Right.
best option moving forward. Also, there is a retaining, not a retaining wall.
Guardrail.
A guardrail along the dam, and that was actually, we had it moved back, so there was a little more room to put the sidewalk in. So that was the other portion of the difference.
I happened to drive through the community just the other day, and it really does look very nice and professional. I mean, I think it's a type of thing we can showcase to citizens if this is the right way to put in a sidewalk, and it just looks very good, so.
And it's being used a lot too. Every time you go through there, there's people walking on it, so it's getting a lot of use.
That's great. Okay. I have no objection to increasing the vast sums of money that we are increasing now to the village manager's authority. Anybody else?
I
I move to
approve it.
approve increasing the village manager's authority to approve change orders on the Juniper Creek sidewalk project to $1,178,000 million.
No.
No.
I move to approve increasing the village manager's authority to approve change orders on the Juniper Creek Sidewalk project to $1,178,000.
Second.
Okay. I think we want to, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion adopted. All right. Okay. Our math lesson is over for the night.
I think we need to ask for Dana's approval on that.
No, I think next time we'll just have the approval amount so that we, much easier. Okay. Holton, this is item B under regular business. This is to discuss acceptance of FEMA Safer Grant. So please walk us through.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So as we discussed back in May, with the fire department, Birdie, we discussed adding 6 additional firefighters to the fire department staffing. And we were directed at that time to apply for the FEMA Safer Grant. We were awarded the grant of up to $837,495 divided over 3 years. So they pay 75% the first year and second year, and 35% the third year. So
When we originally sought this, did we believe we would get the full amount, or were we going to get this staggered amount?
the staggered amount is the grant program for this year. So in the past, they funded 100% for
Right.
a couple of years, but that's what the grant program is for this year. So we're asking council's approval to formally accept the grant and increase the fire department headcount by 6.
So, Carlton, did you want to cover this, what that will cost us, or do you want me to jump into that?
And jump in and do that.
Go ahead. I mean,
So over the 4 years, FEMA will pay about 57% of the cost, and the village will absorb 43%, and in the fourth year, it will be 100% on the village. Because it only covers salary and benefits, equipment, personal protective equipment, and other equipment for the firefighters, we're responsible for purchasing that. So the first year, we would pay about 73%, and FEMA would pay about 73%, and the village share will be about 27%.
Okay, we're citing this here as a year 1, year 2, year 3.
Yes.
That does not correspond to our fiscal years. So year 1, as I'm looking at this, is it means that for this fiscal year we're in, and I don't think we're going to get to this probably to hire people till January. I think that's probably a
Safe
safe bet. It
assumption,
may take
yes.
longer, but we will be, the cost to the village for the remainder of this fiscal year will be $124,000 rather than $248,000.
so
Is
it will be the 248. So
Okay.
the village share of salaries will be the 123,461. But then there's additional operating costs. We have to get all their equipment and gear, turnout gear.
Why does
That
it,
cost.
hold on, why does it say total village costs $248,000?
Yep. Yeah.
And
so-
then it says for that, and which would, again, for this 6-month period, it would be half of that.
No,
No?
the salary portion is half, but we have to buy the equipment. You either buy the turnout gear or you don't, and that's
And
not
where-
prorated.
Where is that on our chart? I guess that's what I'm-
Additional operating, about midways down, and it's flagged by number 4, right at the cursor.
123 plus 125.
The village share of the salary and benefits for the period would be 123, and then we have the 125 for the initial startup equipment training.
That's why the additional operating is lower in the subsequent years. A lot of the equipment expense is up front. We only have to do that once.
What falls under the equipment expenses part?
It'd be personal turnout gear, radio, pagers, bedding equipment.
So it's what the type of equipment we provide for any firefighter?
Correct.
Okay.
But you're right, Mayor, that that $248,000 is the first year of the grant. It is not lined up with our fiscal year. So if you had to guesstimate what fiscal year 26 is, it would be probably half of the village share of the 123 and probably all of the additional operating, because that's stuff that we'd have to hire, pay for upfront.
But I think do we receive the grant pro rata throughout the year? Or do we receive it at the beginning?
We get reimbursed, whether monthly or quarterly, I don't recall.
We have training expenses for new employees, firefighters?
Yeah, there will be.
Is that in the operating?
There would be minimal expense. They should come in as certified firefighter EMTs as part of the grant requirements.
Okay.
So the bulk of the training will be paid for. There may be some additional specialized training that we would be responsible for.
Where would these 6 firefighters be housed? Where would they be located? And
So there's 6 firefighters, but it's only 2 per shift. So there'd be only 2 additional firefighters on duty, and primarily they would be at the main station here.
Okay.
I think we'll run a test between the 2 just for timing to see where it makes the biggest impact for the area that we're trying to serve. I think that's our
Volume-based.
plan. What's that?
volume-based, yeah.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
If you recall, the intent is to have a quick response vehicle or unit that is able to respond quicker.
So we're hoping, I guess, at the end of, not necessarily end of our fiscal year, but 12 months from January 1, we'll have some data back from this process. Is that a fair guess? If we were able to hire these folks and all?
Yeah, certainly after we have people on board, we can, compare what our response times are with the quick response unit versus previously.
So we've already really authorized or given you the go-ahead on the quick response unit, as I
Right.
recall. So this is just a supplement, a way to finance it that saves us quite a bit of money.
Yes, exactly.
But, Jack, I agree with that. The only thing I would say is that I don't know that we felt like the evaluation period would necessarily be 3 years. The grant is 3 years.
I
Yeah,
think we said 18 months is my recollection.
Right, so the grant is a 3-year grant, so we are required to be a part of this program for 3 years. We have to fund our portion of it for those 3 years.
And presumably, assuming we can hire these people, retain them for the 3 years. So it's a 3-year employment commitment, if you will.
Right, and after 3 years, either we need to, fund that appropriately, or we'd have a tough decision and potentially
We have to assess the
lay
data.
off or
Yeah.
do something through attrition with those employees. I don't think that's something we'd like to do in 3 years.
I think we're going in this with the intent that we were going to carry them on.
Right.
Right.
That's the
We
point.
wouldn't
I
be doing
think
this otherwise. And,
So this will give us the analysis. Will this work and meet the needs that we have, or do we need to start looking at the fire station?
Correct,
So
and
in
our-
18 months, we should have that. But I think this would give us half of the staffing for the fire station, if that becomes a need, or we've solved the problem or taken a huge.
And that's what I'm understanding also. The other part I'm understanding on this is that in our due diligence prior to even applying for this, we felt that we had the need for these individuals. And so as we're getting this with SAFER, which is great that we've got the grant coming through, it helps us in doing this. But we'll just have the verification of the data. But we're going into it, again, with the genuine understanding that that's our expectation, is that we're going to retain these people after 3 years.
That is
I
my
agree.
understanding. as
Okay.
But I agree with that, Jeff, but I think the addition to that is that it will help us define what sort of permanently expanded emergency response we should build. Is it a
Absolutely.
fire station? It is an EMS station?
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's more
Yeah.
data.
So perhaps the quick response unit meets all of our defined standards and it's working perfectly. Maybe we just stick with that. Perhaps it's not, and we look at other alternatives, whether another fire station, 2 substations, and those are all things that we can consider in the future. I do want to point out, as Dana has put together this chart, that in future fiscal years, so in fiscal year 30 and 31 that are shown on here, the cost is approximately $600,000, which is about a penny on our tax rate. So
Right, but those
that
things,
in consideration.
right. But again, those years come in after our property is reevaluated. Yeah, just for the
They do.
revenue side of the coin.
I had a fairly lengthy and very informative discussion with Dana this morning, and the assumptions that we're making on the increased cost here are the same that we are making for the rest of our salaries and benefits for the other employees. So it's consistent, I think it was 3.28% all in, counting both merit and COLA, with an assumed 2% inflation rate. And that's 2% is the same that we assume for growth of other operating expenses. We don't assume any revaluation of property in 2027, I think it is. I think that's,
Effective for
you know,
28, yeah.
you could argue we would make a better estimate if we assume something, because it's unlikely to be zero. If that were 2% a year for the 4 years, that's 8%, but I think this is a fiscally prudent way to look at it in the event that we don't get any increase in valuation.
Yeah,
'Cause
so,
the costs will grow.
right. When we look at the reval in our projections, we're assuming that we are keeping the levy the same and not the tax rate.
Well, just to-
Say that again?
Say that again?
So when we're doing projections and we're looking at reval years, we're not assuming that we're trying to keep the levy the same, so the amount that's collected, not the tax rate.
So you're assuming the underlying base valuation, 6 billion odd, stays constant?
Yes.
So just a quick question on the award letter and so forth. It says your application submitted for the fiscal year 2024. Is that,
That's the FEMA, the federal budget cycle. So
Okay.
we applied for that, and they've just entered into a new
Their budget
budget cycle,
cycle.
which is why
Okay.
they're closed.
Right, they just entered into 25. They just
So we have 2 extra people per shift. Actually, I want to sort of tie 2 thoughts together. In the 2019 Birdie report on the proposed fire station, one of the possible suggestions that came out of that was adding 1 person per shift to be a swing person to help ameliorate overtime and sickness, unavoidable loss, so that we'd be fully staffed. Will these 2 people that we define as the quick response unit, will they be available for dispatch under quote-unquote normal calls? How will they be different than the regular shift that's already operating?
I'll let Chief Clouston answer that. They would be available to respond to any call that we had. So they're a part of the firefighting force. But
And second question, what impact will these additional firefighters have on the availability of overtime for the firefighters we also already have?
So basically, the way we're talking about deploying these firefighters is, like we said, it's 2 per shift. They will staff an additional unit that we've already got in inventory. Okay, so basically what's going to happen is when the 2 people are, that unit is staffed, it'll be the first out truck on all EMS calls. Okay, so that was 60% of the calls back from our Birdie report that we gave in May. So that's what we're trying to study. So those 2 will be on that truck, and they'll be the primary first out unit on EMS calls.
On EMS calls or any call?
Well, they'll be out primarily EMS, but they will go on, if there's a structure fire, they'll go with a structure fire as well.
Be the first truck out.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, they'll be first out on EMS, but they will respond to subsequent other calls. And that's also one thing that we're working with the battalion chiefs and officers in the department to really define exactly what that's going to be in terms of run order. But EMS calls and structure fires, they will be on those calls. And then, what was your question again, Mayor? I'm sorry.
Is this have an impact on what I'll call overtime expectations of some of our current firefighters?
So what that is one thing that when you look at the overtime right now, we're pretty level where we're at with overtime. By adding the 2 extra per shift, what the hope is once we get them on board, the overtime will be lessened because we'll have more people. Now, like if you recall back in our presentation, if we get down to minimum staffing, that QRV will be the first unit that goes out of service because we got to keep the 2 engines in service and the rescue in service. Those will be the priorities. So if we're below for that day, maybe we got sick leave, vacation, something goes on, we got people out, we would shut that squad down for that day. And then once the staffing got back up, we would staff it normally.
And how easy will it be to accumulate the data?
So, great question. So basically what we've done is when we looked at the data and how we were having to extrapolate that from last year, we've already changed the records management system, and we are actually pulling some really good data right now. So the hope, what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to pull baseline data from July 1st to December 31st this year to actually show what is actually running in that Station 93 area. And also that other area up around number 6, what we call Zone 94. So we're going to have you the baseline data, July 1st to December 31st, we're going to have that data for you. And then what we'll do is starting January 1st, if we get everybody hired and get everybody on board, starting January 1st, we'll be able to start extrapolating that data. So we'll have comparison data. And we're already, matter of fact, staff is working on coming up with a standardized report that we're working on to show that and to show the comparisons as we go. So that'll also be something. But the system is set up right now to pull that data, and it'll be very granular about what we'll be able to do.
And the starting salaries for the new 6 we're hiring will be the same as the starting salaries from the folks who have already joined the fire department. Is that correct? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I would just add that there is a Fire Academy graduation in December, so we are hoping that we can get these hired in January and pull from that pool.
So a normal full staff component now is 6 people?
No, sir. So our per shift staffing is 10.
10, okay.
We would go to 12.
Right. And we're not wearing different uniforms here. We don't have a quick response uniform and a regular.
Pinehurst Fire Department.
But so on a particular day after this starts, only 11 people show up. We don't necessarily, we know who we hired. We know these two people were hired as part of the QRU, or they weren't, but you're effectively going to be one person over what you would be if we didn't start this. Right now, if you have 10 and somebody can't show up for any reason, you're at 9, but you continue to operate. This gives us a little additional pad. You've still got 11 people there.
Yes, and that was kind of the point about the overtime is it's the potential is to move us away. So right now, what we're talking about is the new minimum staff. In other words, if we got to 8 people, we would have to do an overtime hire, okay? Right now, because of that, it's going to be harder to get to 8, right? I mean, because we got 12, so to your point. So that's what the plan is. And like I said, we're developing all this, and we already have some rough ideas. I mean, really, we're increasing headcount by 2, so it's pretty easy to move the policy and slide it to meet the new needs and what we're trying to do.
I think I heard you say the folks we hire are going to be stationed at the main firehouse.
So what the plan is if you look at that Station 93 area that we were discussing during the Birdie Report, Mayor, Station 92 serves a portion of that, and Station 91 serves a portion of that. So to really get the data that we need, what our goal is to do 6 months of response data out of Station 91, and then at the end of that 6 months, we would move the QRV to Station 92 and pull that data out of 92. So basically, you would be looking at the 3 subsets of data. You have your baseline, response times out of 91, and then response times out of 92.
I got it. Thank you.
And so we intend in the December retreat to talk about growth rate of expenses and revenues, but I think what this really boils down to is, are we willing to commit to the possibility of needing to raise taxes by a penny to cover this cost, well, 3 or 4 fiscal years from now, in the event that we either do not have other sources of revenue or cannot find other cost savings?
I do think before we immediately think of the raising taxes as our first alternative, we need to look at our general fund balance. Because if in our strategic plan,
I won't disagree with that, but I will say we would want to use ongoing money for ongoing expenses.
it's just that we are continually projecting a healthy ending general fund balance. Right now, through FY30, up to 41.1%, which is 11.1% above the 30% of our policy. And what we have known historically is that we are usually sort of underestimating that because we get a little kick in revenue. And again, these numbers do not include property tax reevaluation, which I'm going to bet it's a little higher than 0. But at any rate, so I just think that we need to be careful before we.
You are both right, that one worst-case scenario, we need to be willing to fund an extra penny, but there are a lot of assumptions that go into these numbers, and in 5 years, they will look very different.
Pat, I'm glad you brought that up because that was something else that I looked at and that Dana and I discussed. If you go back to the 5-year strategic operating plan that we adopted, the only capital expenditure items in there are the library, including the archives renovation, and $400,000 as a possible allocation for a design fee of a third building of some kind. I find it hard to believe between now and fiscal year 2030 that whichever people are on the council, they will not come up with some other capital need.
We eliminated, like you said, most everything.
Right, and we have to go back through, there's some of them that may come back on based on further analysis. That's a topic for another night. But the way I thought about this was the projected general fund balance in fiscal 2030 is $13.65 million, or 41% of projected budget. Even if we went down, that's 11% above the 30% sort of threshold, or $3.7 million. That $3.7 million is effectively what we have to play with for potential future capital needs, and or, to Pat's point, an allocation which you don't want to fund annual operating expenses out of the general fund unless you really have to, is my view. That means that we didn't prudently plan.
Right.
So whether any of us sitting here now will be on the council in fiscal 2030 is problematic or unknown, but that is sort of the commitment that we're making by accepting the first 3 years of the financing, because I agree with Jeff. We don't want to be calling 6 people in 3 years and saying thanks for the tryout.
No,
That's
that
not
should be
the-
off the table, okay?
But
But I do think in all likelihood, Jack will be back on the council in 2030. So there will be some continuous operating people here. But putting that aside.
Possibly for the second time again.
I do want to point out, if you go back 5 years and look at the property tax rate that were in our 5-year financial forecast from 5 years ago, we were way above. We were 0.3, I'm trying to remember my math, I think it was 0.31 was what we were projecting at the time. So things change, okay? Property tax revenue comes in better, we get more sales taxes, more homes are built. There's 77 new homes in Pine Wild on Azalea. There's all these things happening. There's a dynamic part of the tax issue or side of this equation that needs to be considered at some point, because it's just not static. We have not seen it being static, at least in the last 5 or 6 years. That's working off my
And you're very right that the revaluation in 28 will make a huge difference on what the actual rate is.
Okay.
And I totally agree, it's not static, and there's going to be other calculations that are made. The bottom line to what I'm saying here is that this is a need. It is not a just nice to have. And we have
Right.
we have a grant that's helping us out. So
That's right.
the fire department is a tier 1 need in this community, just like the police department. Not that I'm going to exclude anybody that's not tier 1. We're talking protection of our village. So I certainly support us going forward with this.
Well, and I think our decision in establishing the quick response concept was to better educate ourselves on exactly what the needs will be. And in essence, this gives us 3 years. We should do the evaluation in less than that, but it gives us 3 years of an opportunity to really figure that out.
Yes.
And that expenditure, whatever that might be in the future, could dwarf this consideration.
Correct.
Probably will.
Okay. All righty. Sounds like we're accepting.
I move to accept the FEMA Safer Grant Award and approve an increase in the fire department's authorized headcount by 6 firefighter positions to support the QRU initiative.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Aye.
All those in favor, aye. We've approved that.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, we have now reached the topic of other business. So I will turn to my fellow council members and see if they have some other business.
I have one item of other business. We could do it now, or we could do it following the work session.
Why don't
Do
we
you
do
have a
it-
preference?
Why don't we do it now?
Okay.
We're making pretty good time here. And if others have something to discuss now, we can do it now or later. All right, Mr. Taylor.
So as the mayor and I have reported, we, along with Doug, have had 2 meetings with the DOT, going back, probably the first one was probably close to 2 months ago, on the traffic circle. And last time, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we met with them. They actually showed us some video and said we have a website that is going to be coming out that will be available to the public, talking about the traffic circle. So Doug, I don't think you were copied on this. Pat was. That website is actually live as of today. And this is a map that is taken off it. This is the new proposal. It is substantially changed, and I think we would all agree improved from the shifted pillow CFI of a year ago. And basically what you're seeing here is they propose to connect State Road 211 with Midland Road east of the circle. They're adding a traffic circle at Midland Road and Airport Road. And this new configuration would have 3 stoplights in it. And they went out of their way to say that this, although they call this the final design, there still are some things that they don't understand about it fully. The 3 stoplights, you can kind of see 2 of them inside the circle. Basically, if you're coming down 211 from the west and you want to go up 15501 to the north, and for some reason you don't cut up Page Road, or maybe you came out of the hospital, you don't go down and around the circle anymore. You come over to that second light where you'll be able to make a left-hand turn. Why do you have to have a light there? Because you have oncoming traffic from Midland Road coming from the east. And conversely, if you're coming on Midland Road from the east and you want to go south down toward Southern Pines or Aberdeen, you will make a left-hand turn at the second one of those lights, turning left across the oncoming traffic on 211. So those are the two major intersections. There is also a small intersection at the bottom if you're coming out of Pinehurst on Midland Road and you want to go either north on 15501 or out Midland Road to the east toward Ironwood Cafe as an example. You have to cross over there, and so there is a third light. Interesting idea, and they make statements about how the level of service will be improved during the peak hours. What is a little more difficult to see, this little inset box dug down into the right, over to my right. These are what they call typicals. Those are designs of the 5 roads, and I'm not sure which one is 211.
Make it a little larger. Well, it says,
Yeah.
there it is. You can actually read it as you enlarge
Yes.
the set.
So
Scroll down,
now we need to
you'll
go
see
down a little.
Scroll down, you'll see 211.
So
Yeah, here it is.
one of the questions which we raised, because the proposal, as you can see, there are actually, I believe, 6 lanes going through the traffic circle, 2 that will be going straight through and 2 that will be a left turn lane each direction. And therefore, there are 4 lanes on North Carolina 211 as you approach the circle. And the question that Pat and I had was, gee, that comes awfully close to Dalrymple Road, and you're widening it by 2 lanes. What is the impact of that going to be on some of the backyards? And the answer is they don't know yet. That's not part of the final plan. They've discussed the concept of having perhaps to take what they refer to as a sliver out of some of those backyards. And that is because, as you see on this diagram, each lane that they build is 12 feet wide, but then they also need a right-of-way. And if you know that road, there's actually where there are power lines there and what have you. There's some utilities that might have to be relocated. So they're proposing to add 2 more lanes or another 24 feet plus some additional measure. And they actually hadn't done the kind of the surveying to see what that impact would be. The second thing which we saw, so this is nice that they've prepared this, and there actually are on the website if you go to it, and I think we will probably ask Kristen to put this on the Hot Topics page.
Yeah,
and
we'll link it there on the Hot Topics
Right.
page.
They have pictures of what it looks like as you are approaching the circle from all 5 roads. At the meeting that Pat and I were at, they actually also have some, what I will call full motion video that simulates you actually driving through the circle and making various exits. They said that wasn't quite complete, and that is not on the website yet, or at least if it was, I couldn't find it. And I think that will be very useful for people to understand, if I'm coming from X and I want to go to Y, what's that going to look like? But that is not on the website as of yet.
John, actually, those are already on our Hot Topics. You just have to click into a folder. So
Which ones were?
the animated movements through the circle.
I didn't know those were complete. They're not included in their own project website, but that's
So the
very
ones they
good to know.
gave us in June, I included on our Hot Topics page.
Okay, good. So the final thing that I found out was if you click on this and you go into the website, we are in the public comment period now. The public comment period ends November the 12th. So that's not going to be a very long period of time following the public meeting on October 28th. So, and I would have argued if I were the DOT, I would have put the full motion videos on this website, because I think that's a much more effective way for people to understand what it might be like. But I wanted to both inform the council that this now exists. You'll be able to go click on it and move through it as you will. And I think we need to let people know that they're in the public comment period now, and public comments are requested. They do not intend, as we understand it, to do a formal presentation on the 28th. They're going to do it in the same fashion that they did at the elementary school a year ago. There will be a series of informational boards, and by the way, the same way that we did the PDO here. They feel that's the more effective way to do it. I don't happen to agree with them, but I don't work for the DOT, and so that's how they're going to go about it on the 28th, 3 to 7 at the Fair Barn.
Are we going to put this URL on our website? Because this is very informative.
Yep, it will link it from our Hot Topics Pinehurst Traffic Circle page to this.
There is other material on there. This was, the biggest question I get is people want to get some idea of what is this? And so this gives you kind of the bird's eye view of what it looks like. This was not one of the designs which they evaluated last year, the 431-page document. They say it is better than the number 2 idea last year. Remember, they don't give us a choice of A or B. The engineers come up with what they think is the optimal solution. That's what they proposed. That was the shifted pillow CFI last year. It is this year.
Do they talk to statistics? So there's traffic counts, delays, and so forth and so on? Those were, that extensive document they had put out a year or so ago that had all that detail.
Yes, and when you look at they have what they call origin and destination data, which I'm ashamed to say I've actually studied. The most common pair are people coming south on 211 or east on 211 to go south on 15501 or going north on 15501 to go west on 211.
Right.
And why they have other than the roads align a little bit better, but why they have chosen to connect 211 to Midland Road, they did not have a particularly good answer for when Pat and I asked them about that. There is a proposal which they did study in that which they accomplished it by means of an elevated flyover to connect 211 and 15501. That for aesthetic reasons a lot of people didn't like. I think there is another way that you could connect those two roads that to my idea, or to my way of understanding the numbers, addresses where the longest lines typically are. And I would say that my own anecdotal experience, the longest lines are coming down 211, particularly in the morning, a little less so in the afternoon, and coming northbound on 15501. And those lines can be substantial. The way they measure what they call level of service, the first letters A through E are very small gaps. There are only 10 or 15 second differences between A to B or B to C. And then from E, F is some number or more. And they don't say whether it's 2 minutes more or 20 minutes more. They're sticking with the same traffic count they had a year ago of 50,000 vehicles going through the circle today, and a projection in 2050 of 80,000 vehicles. And one can potentially quibble with those based on the implied growth rates are greater than the population growth rate and certain other metrics. But I just wanted people to be aware that this now exists. We'll put it out on the public website. I'm happy to try to answer any other questions.
Could you scroll back up to the scheduled chart that was there a moment ago? Or down?
By the way, they are saying that as distinct from a year ago, they do not think they will need to take any houses via eminent domain. They may, again, they haven't answered the question on the sliver of some backyards.
Yeah. But obviously, the project timeline, there's just a couple of things I wanted to point out. One is that the construction, regardless of what a final plant looks like, the construction is not expected to begin until the spring of 2031. Which once again, only Jack will be here on the council. But if you keep going, go up a little more, no, where was it? Right there. What's also noteworthy is that the traffic circle project is expected to be constructed between 29 and 35. US Opens, is planned to be combined with the widening of 15501 north of the circle to better coordinate construction and traffic control throughout the project duration. So what's being proposed here is, in addition to the circle itself, a simultaneous construction project widening 15501 north, because it's the only two-lane road that heads into the circle. All the other roads, if you note, are four-lane roads. So it's just worth knowing that, because that northern part is largely, at least for the first several miles, is within the Pinehurst.
It all the way to 73.
Yeah, but a lot of it is in the Pinehurst village limits. So, again, there's obviously plenty of time to prepare for this, but there's not, the impact is not just the circle anymore.
Oh.
It's going north, which is a, very highly used road. People turn off to go into the hospital. To avoid the circle is another reason people turn off. And then the other side of that, the roundabout or small circle at Airport Road, probably a significant project, but nowhere near as large as the others, which I will say I think is one of their finer additions to this new version. This was not here when we talked about their proposal of the shifted pillow a year ago. That was not there, and they've reopened Beaver Lane, which if you slide over and you see it, because in their shifted pillow, Beaver Lane was cut off from Midland Road, and which was going to create a huge traffic jam, because you would only have, to get into that neighborhood that Beaver Lane runs into is a neighborhood called Taylorhurst, and it is all about 41 Pinehurst residential homes. But the only way to get in and out of it if Beaver Lane was closed would be to drive up to the gate almost to get into Pinehurst number 9, which is the Southern Pines, where Southern Pines begins, and make a right-hand turn into the Taylorhurst neighborhood. So every vehicle would have had to come in and out of there. So again, I'm complimenting them on those particular things that they've done on the, I guess that's the eastern side of the circle that's being proposed. And I'll reiterate, there's obviously other information that we hope maybe we'll see as we get closer. I know some of my colleagues in the past have reminded residents to participate, go to the meetings. You had an impact last time. Submit your questions to NCDOT and submit comments also to those of us on the Village Council. The most significant input to the decision on the shifted circle came from our residents here, which helped convince this council to unanimously vote to oppose the shifted pillow. And so we welcome input. And I think the NCDOT has made an effort to protect a lot more of the circle. There were no trees left in the shifted pillow, and but there are some things there that we want to be sure is not going to impact very negatively some of our residents, nor sort of tamper with the character and ambiance of things as they are near the circle now. Anyway, that's my thoughts.
There are lots of other tentacles that you could go down from how population or how development may change as a result of the county land use plan. Even if they don't have to take parts of anybody's backyard on Dalrymple, by their own projections, could be a very noisy level. Do they have to put in any form of sound barrier there, which is, fairly typical in the Bronx or in major cities? It's not very typical in Pinehurst. So lots of other potential things that you could look at, but this is just, I got this about 2 o'clock this afternoon and want to share it with you all.
Thank you for bringing it up. It's helpful. Anybody have any other thoughts or comments or Doug's going to have it up on the Hot Topics page, and I gather once we get closer to the Fair Barn event, there'll be more, obviously, interest from our residents. And just to remind everybody, our next meeting is not going to be on Tuesday, October 28th. We intentionally moved it to Thursday, October 30th, so council members can attend the event at the Fair Barn. So for the residents who will be there, you're probably going to see most of us roaming around there. Okay. Any other thoughts, questions, comments on this? No? Okay. John, thank you. Any other business that we want to discuss before we move to adjourn the regular meeting and take about no more than a 10-minute break?
I move to adjourn the regular meeting.
Second.
Motion, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned for 10 minutes, so it looks like we can, maybe we try to make it back by 6:15 a little bit. Is that okay?